Hey guys, it's Danielle, and I'm back. I just want to start off this one by saying, you know what? I was like rewatching parts of my last video, and yeah, it's sweet, it's true, it's nice, it's what's good, and I'm preaching that, but it ain't really what I'm trying to get out and what I really believe in order to be able to walk in righteousness and what it is to be good. You have to understand the power that lies within, and that comes from understanding that there is theory versus law, and there's standards versus the rules. So I think that we get a lot of these things confused, and in that confusion, we lose our power. So here we go. Let's get into it. Now, warning, what I'm about to say is might be viewed as controversial, but I speak in truth, I speak on what I know, and I speak in definite. So I'm definitely telling you this is what it is, and you can just take it for what it is or not. But I'm going to stay true to who I am and what I believe, and give power through my knowledge and my understanding that might contradict what our society has kind of, we've been fed. So let's get started. All right. So we're going to start with theory versus law. In the realm of science, because that's what I love, we have scientific theory and we have scientific law. So one of the biggest ones are the evolution theory, or the theory of evolution. And so in this theory, we're taught that, at the beginning of life, there was this big bang and there was nothing on this earth, but water, and, all of a sudden, through time and thousands of years, formed this prokaryotic cell that turned into a eukaryotic cell, and then started to form and evolve, and eventually created this fish-like organism that evolved and then grew feet and then had the capability to walk and roam the earth, and then that evolved, and then so on and so forth, and then the animals came, and then somehow we've evolved from the animals. Okay. All right, this is where it gets a little I'm gonna put it in the most simple terms without using genetics and DNA and the science. All right, let's talk about species. What is a species? Lucky, I have it written down right here. So a species is defined as a group of organisms that can reproduce with another in nature and produce fertile offspring. Now, those words, I use them, and I'm highlighting certain parts of it, because in order for it to be a species, it has to be able to reproduce. So that would mean, as a species, let's take dogs. We breed dogs, and you might breed a German Shepherd and a Pit Bull, and you get a mixed breed, right? Which would be considered a mixed species. Same with humans. I'm the product of an Italian mom and an African American father, and I'm a biracial human. So I am a mixed species. Cool. No, no flaws in that. But we also understand that you can mix, let's say, species. So for instance, you can mix a horse and a donkey, and it produces a mule. Here's why a mule is not its own species, because a mule is sterile. It can't reproduce. Therefore, the theory that we've been taught to believe, that has even found its way in science books, and we're taught in school, literally makes no sense. Because how did we all of a sudden form from nothing? How did everything form from nothing And we've never experienced it in any history known to man. Like never been a there's never been any proof of a cat dog. I mean, the cartoon was pretty funny, but anyway. And so what I like to point out is that all theories, and all standards are based in emotion. So there was an emotional reason, I believe, that as scientists, we wanted to be able to prove the way we were created, and in our minds justified it so much so that we teach it and preach it as if it is law. Now, law, scientific law, the law of energy. So energy can never be created nor destroyed. This is true, meaning that we can't say, I'm energy, and I say, here's a baby, and wave my wand of my human hand and create a human. It doesn't work. It's impossible. And we see it in nature. There's energy can only transcend into another form. So let's take water. You start with liquid, and then you add, put it in a cold temperature to the point, at a certain point, that energy, that state of molecules transforms and transcends into a different form, which is a solid, which is ice. And then let's say, heat is added to that ice. It doesn't, all of a sudden become Kool-Aid. It stays water. It just, that energy, that state transcends and turns into vapor. So there you go. I mean, it's simple, plain. It doesn't change. There is no flaw in it. There is no but in it. It just is. It's in truth. And that is why I preach on the mind, body, and soul, because they're different forms of energy, just like the Trinity of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and so on and so forth. I mean, I'm sure there's a million things that we can talk about as far as energy transfer, but not ever to the point that it was created by anything other than the transfer of it. It's altered, but never created, and it can't be destroyed. All right. We're getting there. All right, so hear me out. This is what I really want to talk about, which I really believe pertains to a lot of the discourse and injustices that we're experiencing. And because we're not understanding the differences, there's subtle differences between the two, it causes a lot of tension. It causes a lot of feelings of this isn't right, or justice, or we need to protest. And instead of like fighting, you enhance yourself in knowledge to understand the difference between standards and rules. Standards are emotionally based. So they basically give us, it's a standard, it's a right. So for instance, if I'm on a bus and I see an old man with a cane walking, it's courtesy and it's right for me to, I'm more able-bodied than he, to give up my seat. It's the right thing to do. Now, if I don't do it, am I going to go to jail? Did I break any laws? No, it's just the right thing to do. It's emotionally based. There's a standard to, do right, and in that doing right, to be right, and to express right, what it is to be right and just and good. Now, when we talk about rules are not made based on, they don't stem from emotions. So, let's say the rule of law that says, we should not kill. We shouldn't kill just because it's kind of the right thing to do. We shouldn't kill because it's an injustice to humanity. And so it stops becoming a emotionally based standard or law. It becomes a factual, this in order to retain decency. Those rules have to be followed. So the reason I say this is because when we start confusing the two, the standards and the rules, we lose our power if any injustice or violation of rules are breached. We lose our power because we start fighting in terms of standards in hopes that any adversity that comes our way should just do right and be right. And there is that fact. I mean, I agree, but you can't change emotion. What you can change is what is done to you through knowing the rules. There are far too many of us that sit at jobs where the rules are violated, and people kind of just are like, it is what it is. What can I do? I don't want to possibly, say something and, it put my job in jeopardy. And then I wouldn't be able to feed my family, and I wouldn't be able to do this, and I wouldn't be able to do that. And there's, everybody's like living in this, like, I don't want to step on toes, to make sure, because there's been so many things where or rights that we have that have been violated. And because nobody says anything, and because everyone just kind of, calls their girl, guess what my boss did? Instead of, taking that time and being like, let me open this rule book that every entity, anything that we participate in is given to us at the beginning before we sign that contract. That's what makes it, solidifies it as rules, and starts to just complain about things that if they just did some research and, became knowledgeable on what their rights are in justice and in rules according to whatever code or contract that was initially presented to you, we'd be living in a lot more just and happy world. So I'm going to give an example. And again, I'm not saying this, so we can fight the power. No, I'm saying this because if anything happens and something is taken into court, this is it. The rules are what the judge bases their verdict on. It's never, based on an emotional feeling. And so we have to learn when to take our emotions out of it and stand up and in our right and give us back our power by making and checking and holding people and companies and governments and whatnot, holding them, up to par to what should be done, and justify ourselves, so that way we as the people, the everyday, the ordinary people, have a leg to stand on. And then they start to understand, well, for instance, human, let's say civil rights, right? We stood on that, and we stood firm in it because it just was a violation of the rules. And so for that, now they're technically, as per the rules, there's a clause that incorporates discrimination. Fair, right? I mean, I think that there's a misunderstanding of, when we talk about minorities, it's not based on actual skin color. There's different meanings to words, and minority is one of them. So us, we the people, are not the minority. We're the majority. Most of us are minorities, but in reality, we're 99% of, what makes this world go round. And so there's power in that, and that's okay, because it gives us a sense of knowing that we don't have to take things because out of nervousness, or in to protect our job, or to provide security for us, because in the rules it's already there. So the best example I can give of this is as a student, there were some, a professor did some foul things, and I was really like taken aback by it, because I dedicate my time, I sacrifice, my energy, being a single mom, and trying to just live and do right, and really focus for my purpose so I can live in it. And so like, there were some things that I was like, oh no, this bitch didn't. Like, I know she ain't trying me like that, or I know she don't think she can get away. And so instead of arguing with the professor, I decided, I'm like, okay, that's the way you feel, fine. Because if I reply back with emotion, then it gives them basis, and it prevents the true source of wrongdoing from actually being indemnified solely based on the rules. Because once you start fighting emotionally, you stop fighting in what is written and what is contractually your right. So I instead of when it was first presented to me, and she basically told me that I had a death in my family, so in the middle of midterms, and it was hard. It was a lot going on, and so like I had to take a couple of weeks to myself, and I expressed this to all of my professors, and let them know, I just need to take a break. I'll be back in a couple of weeks, and they were like, please, we understand. We'll give you extra time, whatever you need. And I was very, very gracious of it, except this one professor. So when I came back, and, I'm expressing, all right, I'm ready, it's time for me to catch up. She was like, well, I will go ahead and, alleviate the pressure of, time as it is in relation to submitting the assignments, but I'm going to hold you to the same standards of all your classmates, which means that all your work must be due by the final day of class. And I'm like, damn, there ain't no like bereavement clause in this. Like, and I'm questioning myself. I'm like, wait, that don't sound right. I've never heard of such a thing. Like, so what did I do? I didn't argue. I just went and looked at the rules. And in those rules, there it was. Page this, section this, paragraph this, under this clause. Like, I mean, it just is what it is. So when I came back, I said, okay, we're not going to argue. I don't agree. But I'm going to go ahead and reach out to the dean to, make a third party aware, one that is unbiased in their decision, because that is their position to enforce the rules that the school has made and has to legally abide by. And when I tell you, ooh, she was mad. Because of course I was given the extra time. And I'm not gonna get too far into the story. It keeps going and it keeps going, because what I realize is every time she was, so she took what I did and tried to, basically stop me and incite an emotional response. So that way I wouldn't look up the rules. And instead of giving that to her, why would I give my power away, my energy, all the, the things that I need to keep my life in and avoid discourse. I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to be upset. I don't want to fight. I don't want to I'm like, pew, pew, pew. Like I just, knocking things out just to ensure my peace. Because without peace, if I'm not living in peace, then it stops my capacity to be full of love. That starts that, instead of it being a whole pie of just love, there's a section in it that I'm dedicating and actually freely giving to somebody else, when in fact I can just, ensure justice by understanding the rules. And so from that, she tried so hard, oh my God, to make my life hell. And every time she did, I never argued. I would just revert back and be like, look, she broke another rule. There we go. And so it got to the point that she had no case because she was fighting me under the standard, fighting me under the emotional thing. So she was trying to get me to feel upset. Absolutely not. I don't give anybody my happiness freely. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you do. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I fight too much in this life, to be the best person that I can be. And that is the only thing I'm fighting for. I'm fighting to abide by the rules that are based in a word that is universally true. I don't care what religion, they all have the same set of standards of righteousness and what it is to emulate love. And so I think that I'm hitting this stuff on the head because at this point, we're a society filled of people that are living in their injustice, are unhappy and inviting of discourse. And then that transcends, it stops the fullness that they can actually vibrate in and starts to, you get in the car and your boss pissed you off and somebody cuts you off and you say, fuck you. Why? There's so many better things in life. There's so many worse things that you can do. Why would that bother me? This life is too great. There is too much to be filled. And when we start to understand that we have the capacity to be in charge of our emotions, and when we take charge of that, and through understanding and having a knowledge of where our power lies, which is in the laws and in the rules, it will give us the platform to be able to transcend and be a better world of people. So with that, I leave you with, thank you guys so much for taking the time, all of your comments, all your messages, all of your likes, all the subscribers. And I ain't big, but every single person counts. And I truly, truly hope that what I preached on today and what I'm talking about, you understand that this is not my made up standard and theory. This is the law and the rules that the Creator has made sure that we understand so we can live in the highest form of who He is. And with that being said, thank you guys. Thank you. Be blessed. Have a good one.